So who do you think is the number 2 team in the league? Because we had Bama getting a very, very big, very loud win against Kentucky. Grant Nelson had the best game that he had in Alabama uniform with 25 points. It was Bama's first win at Rupp over a top 10 Kentucky team since 2002. We can dive into that. Tennessee loses on the road against the Vanderbilt team that's off to its best start since 2009, 2010, back when Vandy basketball really meant something. Mississippi State was able to beat Ole Miss in overtime in the first ever game between those two schools in men's basketball where both teams were ranked. It took until 2025 for that to happen. And then Missouri, somewhat predictably, I guess, it blitzed Arkansas. Unless I'm missing something else, GP, I think those were the most relevant SEC results on Saturday. Who do you think is number 2 right now? Or how about not even right now? Who do you think will be number 2? We're going to agree that Auburn's going to be the 1 seed in the SEC tournament. When that tournament starts, who's going to be on the 2 line?
Alabama. Okay. I think it'll be Alabama, but if you take a look at the top 25 and 1 this morning, it is just loaded at the top with SEC teams. I have number 1 Auburn, then number 4 Alabama, number 5 Florida, number 6 Tennessee, number 7 Kentucky, number 10 Mississippi State, number 14 Ole Miss, number 16 Texas A&M, number 21 Missouri, number 23 Georgia. In the SEC, that's 5 of the top 7, 8 of the top 16, 10 of the top 23 in my top 25 and 1. I have Alabama as the second best. I think you can reasonably do that on potential and on current resume. Auburn's the only team with a 0 in the loss column of the conference standings at 5-0. Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri are each 4-1. I think Alabama, on potential, is the best team is the best team outside of Auburn in the SEC, and I think Alabama right now on resume would also be the best team in the SEC, not named Auburn.
A semi-regular reminder from my end on behalf of GP's rankings. Once we get into January, for the most part, the man is assembling these rankings as if they are bracketology and looking at resume and where it's stacking up. So if you've heard a few names there and like, why are they still that high? He's stacking up. I know you know, but I feel like the listeners to hear it from my voice instead of yours. I forgot the Florida one. They absolutely routed Texas on that end there. It was such a noisy. I mean, this Saturday there was a lot of results, a lot of upsets. I want to get to that before the show's over. Just kind of assess the upsets that we had there. And going into the weekend, like I thought, okay, this is a solid slate, but things could break. If they break the way they break, maybe it won't be too noisy. Well, actually, I think on some levels, this might have been the most interesting Saturday so far. And the one game that before they had played, one game that I wanted to watch, but knew I was not going to be able to, was Alabama, Kentucky. Took my wife to see the Book of Mormon, which if you have not seen it, I'd long wanted to see it. It is absolutely tremendous.
Saw it last year with my wife, good. And it's great. It's just as great as everybody who says it's great says it is.
I didn't really know too much about it going in, but highly recommended, and I absolutely loved it. The only time I really on Saturday got to squeeze in about 5 minutes worth of a watch was during intermission, and that's when I was checking in on Bama, or right when it was about to start, when I was checking in on Bama, Kentucky, and damn if it wasn't a really, really good game. Then turned the phone off. I was like, I'll find out in 4 hours what wound up happening there. And I know I checked afterward, and then on the train right back this morning, I really tried to cram as much in. Mark Sears playing well. I'll say this though, the two things that stick out to me from the result are the fact that Kentucky defense is a major issue. Like really, really fun team, capable of beating anyone in the country, but can really get picked off here. It's 84th in defensive efficiency. And like Bama's a good team, but in your house, you let another team go for a century on you. That's troublesome. And on that note, though, credit to our CBS Sports Research Department, Alabama has gotten 100 points versus ranked teams in one season 3 times so far. That hasn't happened since 01-02 Kansas. To get 100 points against ranked teams 3 times in a season. Really impressive. It's why I'd back up your opinion right now on Bama. These teams could play again tomorrow, and Kentucky could win 102-97. But that was an illuminating result to me for Alabama, my preseason number 1 team, really putting it all together. And I think I'd agree with you on that. Thoughts on that if you have them, and then just fill me in on. I know the Vandy Tennessee game was tight near the end. What a 1 point a result on the outro. Vanderbilt, I've checked the schedule before the pod today. They've got, it's the SEC, so they're all beastly schedules, but like I don't know if they're going to be in the tournament or not, but I know that was a significant win, and maybe this can pivot for them. It was Vandy's best start to a season to this point, and since 2009, 2010 that I had mentioned before.
Well, it's, like, I guess people who maybe haven't been following the sport too long might not know, or might not remember, but like Vanderbilt used to be consistently really good at basketball.
Well, yeah, Kevin Stallings era. What a flashback.
I mean, Kevin Stallings was really good at Vanderbilt for a long time. Perhaps very rarely great, but consistently good. And then, buddy, it's just been a mess for a while. My point is this. We've talked about the SEC every episode, a lot, more than any other conference in the country. I don't think we've said 5 words about Vanderbilt all season. And they're 15-3, top 50 at KenPom. Like, that's an amazing story.
Incredible, man. Really...
The Vanderbilt story can't find oxygen because of everything else in the SEC. But that's an amazing story. They're now 15-3. 2 of their losses are to teams I have ranked right now, Mississippi State and Missouri. The other one to a Drake team that's not bad. They've got now a big win over Tennessee. You could reasonably throw Vanderbilt in the AP poll on Monday if you wanted to. I don't have them in the top 25-1, but you could get them there. So it's just filled with great stories. Dennis Gates' bounce back season at Missouri, incredible story. You go 0-18 in the league, you don't usually bounce back and find yourself in the top 25 the next season. You usually find yourself as an assistant coach on one of your buddies' staffs the next season, right? But they intelligently stood by him, didn't panic, which is perhaps what Vanderbilt should have done with Bryce Drew when they went through something similar many years ago. And now the payoff is here. I've got Missouri up to number 21 in the top 25-1. Just to circle back to Alabama, give you a few more numbers, then we'll move on. 15-3 now, 10-3 in the first 2 quadrants, 5-3 in quadrant 1, no losses outside of quadrant 1. So they now have 4 wins over teams I have in the top 25-1, specifically Kentucky, Texas A&M, Illinois, and Houston. And their only losses are to Purdue, Oregon, Ole Miss, all teams I have in the top 25-1. Alabama challenged itself non-league. I know it got a little maybe uneven given the preseason expectations, but they have emerged as an obvious candidate to go back-to-back Final Fours to maybe win a first national championship in school history. And right now I would say that I would project them to be the 2 seed in the SEC tournament.